family. Um, he loved and adored his father, very close to his mother. And very young age, he noticed something one day. There was yelling and screaming. And he goes into the hallway and he noticed that his mother and father are in this altercation. And even as young as he was, he's thinking, what can I do? So he runs back into his room and he grabs a shoe and he goes back out in the hallway and he tries to defend his mother, swinging the shoe at his father to no avail. So this story may be close to your story, maybe something that you grew up with had a profound effect on you. Um, and this kid basically started out very young, dealing with things that he probably shouldn't have had to deal with. So the question is, why should you listen to me? My name is Odie Anderson. I'm a trained therapist, and I'm also a certified life coach. I've been working in the addictions field for quite a few years. I've been able to help several individuals who were chronic relapsers and couldn't put sober time together be able to do that, and some of which have done most, if not all of that time outside of a rehab or treatment type facility. Really, the reason why I'm doing this is because I've been frustrated with the way we do recovery with the medical model. Not saying that it's completely broken, but I believe we need to do better at helping people achieve outside of treatment. I've seen a lot of people do very well in treatment, no issues. They grow, they change. They want to have, this awesome life. They believe it. But then you hear weeks, maybe even months later, it's not so good for them. And that's what breaks my heart. It hurts me to realize that there are people out there that want to do it, but they get out there. And I really believe what it is two things: primarily a lack of support, but also a lack of proper skills and practical things that they can use on a daily basis. So what am I selling? So what I'm selling is something that's very valuable. And if you don't get a handle on it, if this is you, if this is a problem that you've had in your life, or maybe it's a loved one, if you don't get a handle on this, nothing else matters. This is valuable to you in your life. The thing that I want to sell you on is you. The fact that you can achieve and do the things that you want to do, but you're probably not going to be able to do it with the ups and downs that addiction brings. And I would say many of you could probably do exactly what I'm doing now because of all of the experiences that you've had. So I just want you to pick up a few key things that I'm going to share with you today that for you is probably going to be eye-opening. And I guarantee if you use it, if you perfect it, if you practice it, you're going to notice a profound change with your thoughts and cravings. So this is a quote, and this kind of embodies basically my idea. And when I look at people, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So what I imagine when I see you getting your life right, what I imagine is all the good you could do for the world on the other side of addiction, on the other side of up and down relapses and lapses. I believe that your world can be totally different, and I want that for you. And I just believe sometimes it takes a little bit more added support than we would think, or maybe sometimes what we would want. Sometimes it takes a little bit more added support. But other than that, you can do it. And with learning new things, learning what works for you, and practicing those coping skills when you don't need them allows you to, in the heat of the moment, do the right thing, make the right choices to keep yourself sober. So the bottom line is I'm selling you on you. So, okay, so basically my question is, how have you handled your thoughts and cravings in the past? What kind of things have you done to kind of get through them? And I've heard a lot of different things that people have done, but they pretty much fall into three categories. Either the person is going to ignore or distract themselves, they're going to give in all the way, just like with the thoughts, just let them encompass them and just go down that path, even though they probably know that it's not a good path to go anyway. Or someone that pretty much doesn't do anything at all, doesn't reach out, doesn't do anything to kind of help themselves to get better. And what I found is when you take these things and you internalize them, these thoughts and cravings, a lot of times people think that I succeeded because I got through it. But what I find, when you ignore and you stuff these things, they resurface, right? They come back out, and most of the time they come back stronger and bigger than they were before, which means they're a bigger problem for you. And my question is, how much energy do we have in our body? Is it limited or unlimited? Is it limited or is it unlimited? And I would say that it's limited. I mean, I believe our potential is unlimited, but when you really get down to it, we still need to sleep, right? So we only have so much energy, and I mean mental, emotional energy. We only have so much, right? So you're fighting these cravings, and what I've found is that your energy is going down. Your strength is going down as your thoughts and cravings, the strength of them are increasing, which eventually causes someone to go back out and use. So my thing is, ignoring is the wrong thing to do. Distracting yourself is the wrong thing to do. We know definitely giving into the thoughts and going down that path, even though you know it's a bad path, is the wrong thing you do. And last but not least, we know doing nothing is obviously the wrong thing to do. So this is a different way of looking at the thoughts and cravings and actually using them kind of like as a signal to kind of help you make some choices. So does any of this sound familiar? I would like to know. The problem is also too, once a person has a thought or a craving, what also happens? A lot of times, and this is actually foundational to what I'm going to share, a lot of times what happens is people struggle with guilt or with shame because they've had a thought. They tell themselves, I shouldn't be thinking like that. I got everything to live for. I have a husband, a wife, or kids. I have a great job. I have an awesome future. It can be a lot of different things. The issue here is when we start saying shoulds, coulds, woulds, it only takes us further down a path that we don't want to go. It gives us more information that we can use against ourselves to take us down that road. So the should, woulds, and coulds, the blame, that doesn't work either. That actually puts you in a situation that you don't want to be in. So what do? The thing is, many who struggle with addiction have the same issue. So I don't want you to feel like you're all alone when it comes to the fact that you go through the whole process of, getting your life back together, getting clean, doing the right thing. And then all of a sudden you're minding your own business one day, and then bam, something happens to throw you out in a different situation, in a place that you don't want to be. And I would say a lot of these things happen unconsciously. I really believe that many people struggle from this kind of automatic process that your mind goes to when you've had an addiction problem. I really believe people when they say, I don't even plan on using, or I don't want to use. I really believe it. I believe it. Because I've seen people struggle with the whole idea of these intrusive kind of thoughts that just come out of nowhere. You're minding your own business one day and bam, you get hit with one. So we're going to look at this a little bit further. If this sounds familiar to you, you need to pay attention to what follows. So it's not going to be very long. It's going to be very simple. I'm going to go into more depth of this. So basically, this is going to be a precursor to a course that I've developed to help you deal with the problem of addiction and help yourself get long-term sobriety. So this is just a small piece. This is just on the surface of what we're going to get to, and really we're going to personalize it. We're going to find out what your story looks like and help you to implement these things into your life. So basically what I'm going to share with you, you could find in the Truth of Addiction program. You can find this program online. I've studied it and used it with clients, and it's very effective. So basically, I want you to know that if you're able to perfect the skills that we're going to talk about today, you're going to notice that your cravings are going to diminish and your thoughts are going to diminish. Basically, you're going to create different neural pathways in your brain that makes it easier for you to stay sober. So in the same way that your addiction made it easier for you to stay in addiction, this kind of cognitive approach is going to help you to be able to get on top of the thoughts and cravings so you can stay clean longer and hopefully for the rest of your life. So one of the keystones of this program is that it looks at addiction more like you would look at OCD. So the idea is obsessions and compulsions. So what's the difference? An obsession is a thought, those intrusive thoughts. A compulsion is the actual acting out process, actually going through the process of using. And what happens is you create a positive loop that keeps you stuck in addiction if you give into the obsessions and the cravings, and then you use, you only make that cycle stronger in your life, which means it makes recovery and staying clean a lot harder. So here are a couple thoughts. So first, I want you to stop judging your thoughts and craving. I want you to stop saying they're good or bad or whatever. And this is the reason why. When you judge, you give meaning to the thought, which gives the thought power. And a lot of times the meaning that we give the thought actually makes the thought almost impossible to overcome. So instead of saying what you shouldn't do, or that was bad, or I should be in a different place, or I understand why, don't go through that whole judgment piece. Don't go through the judgment piece, because I would like to consider that you have several thoughts on a daily basis that come into your mind that are intrusive, that are not good thoughts for you, and they come in and you just let them go. You realize it's not a good thought and you just let them go. So my question is, why can't we do that with thoughts about using? Because there's a hook. The problem is you've already had an issue with addiction. So when you have those kind of thoughts, it takes you to a different place. And also, you know, it's connected to the very primitive part of your brain. So it's almost like a switch goes off and you went from being okay to not being okay. And I mean, I just recently had a talk with someone, and this is exactly their situation, that they went from being okay to having a trigger in a thought, and it's like off to the races. So what I would like to say is you have to understand that this is one of the reasons why these things can't be entertained, which I'm going to get into a little bit later, is that we need to be serious about this and not be tricked by the thought. And I think this is part of the issue, is that as soon as you take that thought and you start considering, you know what, it might be nice to have a blunt today. You know, usually when I'm stressed out like this, you know, this is what I would be doing. It would be so nice, right? Something that small starts a huge fire, because the question is that a wanted thought or wanted behavior or not? And if it's not a wanted thought or behavior, it's not something that should be focused on, because once you focus on it, now you've created a seed that's now going to grow into something that's probably going to be too strong for you to deal with. So the idea is, I do not want you to judge the thought. So this is something else too. Those thoughts may start off kind of benign. So like just a passing thought about using, right? But if I don't handle it right, if I talk to the same person 2 to 3 days later, or even me by the way, 2 or 3 days later, that same thought went from being a little benign thing that's no big deal. Now I'm seriously considering going out and using. And that's the issue, is that if they're not addressed right, it seems like the thoughts and ideas, they grow and they get worse. So these are 4 points I'm going to give you. 4 points I'm going to give you, and I want you to remember these 4 points. This is how you overcome thoughts and cravings long term. So I'm going to ask a question. What do you think you need to do with those thoughts? What do you think would be the first step to kind of dealing with a thought or a craving? Just think about that for a second. So the first thing you have to do is recognize it, because sometimes these things come out of nowhere. Like you're minding your own business. You're at a place that wouldn't normally have drugs or alcohol or anything. Like you're just in a normal environment, and then maybe it's a song, or maybe it's a smell, maybe it's a comment, and that comment or thought or smell or environment causes you to be triggered, and that trigger causes a thought. Okay, so you have to recognize that sometimes these thoughts are not go out and use right now. They can be very subtle initially, maybe saying, oh, I could just use once, or oh, it would be nice. That's how it starts. And if I can recognize that that's unwanted. So let's talk about unwanted. So unwanted could be looked at as a feeling, but I want you to look at it more as a choice. So if you have a thought of using and your job is to stay clean, is that wanted or unwanted? That would be an unwanted thought. Okay. Even though you might feel like using, even though it may be something that you're used to and might be very easy for you to do, the thing is, you got to realize sometimes your thoughts and feelings are not lined up. They're two separate things. And also, more importantly, your choices. So are you choosing to stay clean? And if you're choosing to stay clean and you have a thought to use, that is an unwanted thought. The problem is, a lot of people that struggle with addiction don't look at these thoughts as unwanted. They look at these thoughts as positive thoughts, as a security blanket, as a friend. And the problem is it's almost like I pick up a fiery ember off a fire and I bring it into my chest and expect not to get burnt. Like you're bringing this dangerous thing very close to yourself, and it's eventually going to hurt you, and probably immediately going to hurt you. Because again, now you got the doubt, the fear, the shame, the guilt that comes from not being true to your choice to be clean. So I want you to start separating your choice and your emotions, because sometimes you're going to feel like using, but if your choice is to be clean, it is an unwanted thought. Okay. And that one tip right there could probably help you kind of start teasing out even other areas, not just addiction, but a lot of times they have feelings and intentions, or you have choices or whatever that you're going to make that are more positive for your life. So don't confuse the two. So you have to recognize that the thought is unwanted. And once you recognize it, I just want you to sit with the thought. I don't want you to roll it around and think about all the different ways you can use. That's not what I'm talking about, but just acknowledge that it's there. So this is the problem. A lot of times we don't not notice that the thought is a negative thought, and then we go down the hill with the thought. It just gets worse, and we don't realize it started with something that was really benign, something that was really simple. Excuse me. So I need you to first recognize that the thought is unwanted. Second part is to be attentive to the thought. Be attentive and mindful. So my question is, have you been mindful in your addiction when you're out using? Were you mindful of what was going on when it came to thoughts and cravings, or were you mindless? And what I find, a lot of times we're mindless. We know that what we're doing is probably not good, but we go off anyway. or even more so, we don't even realize the direction that we're going in is the wrong direction to go in addiction. That's the crazy thing. The issue is in sobriety, you need to be mindful now. You can't be mindless. So when you have that thought, it's almost like you have to build up a standard, like you have to be on guard. You have to be on guard for these things. So when they do come, you know how to handle them so they don't hurt you. So when I talk about mindfulness, it also brings me to another idea that may help you deal with thoughts. So the idea, and I think I mentioned it earlier, that we need to be able to recognize these ideas and let them go, just like any other idea that we have that we're not going to follow. I mean, how many times have, you thought, I need to tell that person off, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. And then you realize after a while, like, nah, that's probably not the thing to do. And you just let the thought go. You don't ponder it. You don't think about it. You just kind of let it go, just float off. That's what they tell you to do in meditation, right? So the idea is, don't focus on things that you don't want. And this is something else, again, going back to unwanted. The idea of a thought to use for a person that's in sobriety is a negative thought. And I don't want to use the word negative. I would say unwanted thought, because I want to get out of the judging thing. Just unwanted, meaning it's not working for me. Okay? So if you realize that it's unwanted, then it's not yours. So it's the same thing you should do with thoughts of using. When it comes in, don't give it any meaning. Don't say it's good. Don't say it's bad. No should, woulds, coulds, none of that stuff. Just look at the thought, acknowledge that it's there, and be mindful. Sit with it for a second. Be mindful of what it is. And it's almost like maybe somebody's out to get you, right? And they're out to get you. And so you're on guard, right? It's not like I'm looking around for it everywhere, but I'm just my attention level is a little bit higher now to make sure that I don't get caught. I don't get tricked. So it's the same thing you have to do with these thoughts and cravings, is that you have to be on guard for them. And what happens is you start catching them a lot more often, and they don't have the same effect on you anymore, because I'm not being tricked by that now. I'm not going down that road. So the last part, well, matter of fact, this is the third part. There's 4 things, like I told you, is to examine and evaluate. So again, I want to go back to a thought. So maybe a thought is, I need to go tell this person off, or maybe I should go here or go there, but you realize maybe I don't have time to do it, so you don't do it. So it can be any kind of thought. The thing is, we talk to ourselves in third person all the time, inside our heads, all the time. This is what I want you to do with the thoughts about using. The problem is that we identify with those thoughts of using so much that we don't separate that from who we really are. Because again, your soul is telling you, or your mind is telling you, or you've made a choice that I don't want to use, but your emotions, or maybe your stress, or whatever it is pushing you toward use. And even though you might feel like using, even though you might have a thought, your intention is not to. So what you have to do is start separating the idea, separating that thought, just like you do all the rest of them. Because we do it with every other thought, but it just seems like with the thoughts to use or the cravings, we kind of identify with that. We make that ours. That's mine. And the problem is we shouldn't. We should look at those thoughts just like any other thought. And when you do, you gain power, because now that thought is separate of me. I don't have to do anything. That's something else that I've said many, many times to clients. A lot of times, like, we're angry, or we're upset, or we're lonely, or we feel a little destructive. And does that mean I have to go do something destructive? Does that mean I need to act out in anger? Or the same thing. Just because I'm thinking about using or feeling like using, does that mean I have to use? Think about it. And I would say no. I would say you don't. But you have to give yourself power to walk away. You have to give yourself power to do the right thing. So last little section here, and this is something that's really important. And I believe this is a step. And remember that we were not born here on earth to live on an island. So my idea is that when you have a thought, when you have a craving, you do the first 3 steps, but I would like to add another step that you actually process that with someone else. And processing could be something as simple as calling a friend and saying, hey, listen, I had this crazy thought today. Now, this would be somebody that's there to support you in your sobriety. And probably most of the time they're going to sit and maybe just listen. They might ask some questions. They may dig a little deeper, but just the process of you getting it off your chest, it's not a secret. And that's something else that I found is when people keep secrets, a lot of times those secrets eventually come out. So what I want you to do is get away from keeping it a secret. Like I would say everybody that's had an addiction problem, even no matter how long they're being clean, they still probably have at the minimum passing thoughts of using from time to time. That's just the way it goes. But the difference is they don't give into it. The difference is they have support. The difference is that they're maintaining their system in a way that they can deal with life on its terms and not go back out. And that's what I want for you. So what I'm going to tell you is not just to rely on your own internal strength and ideas and all that stuff to keep yourself on the right path. I'm asking you to actually entrust yourself to someone else and say, hey, can you keep me accountable in this area? And you just call them up and just let them know what happened. Don't have to make it a big deal. Just acknowledge it. So I want to go back to the little boy. So the little boy at the beginning of the story, watching his parents fight, watching his father be abusive towards his mother. That little boy is me. And what I want to tell you is I'm not telling you that so you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you that because I want you to know the depth of my understanding of what addiction can do to a family and to a person is very deep. And if I can help everybody that I come in contact with to get long-term sobriety, to live out success, to do what they really want to do in life, I'm willing to do that. Because I've seen the ravages, not in just my own family, but all the people that I've, helped, and all the families and friends that I grew up with and saw how it affected them. Like, this is something that if I could give someone this gift, I want to give it to them because I know how lives change and what people are capable of on the other side of addiction. And that's one of the reasons why many people work in addiction, because they've been touched by it. So I want you to understand that this comes from the heart. This is not, and this is really what started me on the journey, is because my love for the people that I work with and seeing them do so well in treatment, but then getting out and not doing so well. So this system is actually set up to help you come out of treatment and do well. That's what it's about. It's about you coming out of treatment and doing well. So, and even if you've put some time together, 6 months, 8 months, but you find yourself kind of going on that slide, or maybe you've lapsed here and there, but you're still primarily clean, like you don't use all the time. Maybe you get a couple months here, a couple months there. That's what this is for. This is to help prevent you from having those lapses, because I know those lapses hurt your belief system. They give you a lot of doubt. It causes more shame. It causes fear. It causes the lack of hope in yourself that you can actually get this. So I want to help you prevent that so you can get longer term sobriety, so your belief goes up, so your success goes up, so you can actually accomplish what you want to accomplish. So this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to tell you guys basically, where we go from here. My question is, are you ready to start living the best life that you can live? The idea is not to delay, not to wait, not to put it off. I'm willing to help. I have the expertise. You have to bring the motivation. Like, I can't bring everything. You got to bring the motivation. You got to bring the purpose. You have to bring the work, because really, by and large, you're going to do a lion's share of the work. Because that's what a coaching relationship is like. It's not me doing it for you, it's you doing it for yourself, and I'm helping you down the path. And if you haven't heard this for a while, or if you've never heard it, I believe in you. Okay? And I don't care what you've done. I don't care where you've been. I believe in you. But now it's time for you to start believing in yourself. Believing in yourself long enough to give yourself a chance to get a taste of the life that you want. How much would it mean for you to live the life that you dreamed of? How much happiness and joy? How many relationships are you going to be able to repair and actually have that are healthy? What about your purpose in work and in life in general? How would all those things improve for you if you could overcome your addiction? That little thing that stays in the back and kind of holds you down. How would it feel to look in the mirror and totally adore the person that you see? So that's what I want for you. So here it is. Here is my offer. My offer is, if this resonated with you at all, if you heard something that you would like to work on in your life, dealing with those thoughts and cravings, whatever it may be, this is only a little piece. This is actually just one little section of what I'm going to go over. I'm also going to talk about the importance of your system. I'm going to help you kind of figure out what you should be doing as far as a career and that kind of thing. It's a very exhaustive process, but it's basically going to put you in a lot better place than you are right now, and really allow you to kind of put your addiction behind you. So what I want to extend to you is a free awakening call. So what this is going to be is like a 30, 45-minute call that allows us to kind of join together, allow me to hear some of your story, get to know you better, and really determine if this is right for you right now. Okay. It's going to allow us to maybe set up a initial game plan for you, maybe even something that you could do on your own. Help you to learn the number one thing that's probably held you back in the past, which may not have anything to do about what I just discussed. Could be something totally different, but I'm going to try to, in that call, figure out what your main hurdle has been, so we can devise a plan for that, and also determine and figure out if this program is even beneficial for you. And last but not least, establish an initial plan for you to maintain long-term sobriety. So the bonuses are, I'm going to give this to everyone that watches this webinar and uses this code. Watch the webinar, use the code, you get the discount. I'm going to give you nearly a 50% discount on my program if you ask for it with this code. The code is AWAKENING. The bonus, you're going to receive 2 free coaching calls upon completion of the program. So during the program, you're going to have coaching calls, but we'll talk about that now. I want to talk about the program. This is free, but this is if somebody decides today, I want to go ahead and get started. When you complete the program, you're going to have 2 free coaching calls upon completion of the program. And what that's like is like a good favor type of gift for you, for not only choosing to go through the program, but completing, but also gives us a chance to make sure that your feet are under you and that you're doing great and send you out into the world. So I'm offering you a free 45-minute call to kind of dig deep and figure out what your specific issues are, put together a game plan, and find out the number one thing that's probably tripped you up in the past. Bonuses, nearly 50% off the 18-week course. And bonus number 2 is 2 free coaching calls upon completion of the program. I really hope that this helped you. I hope you got something out of it. Feel free to check the links below to sign up, to call, to get on my calendar, to have your awakening call. All of that's going to be in the link below. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. This is Odie Anderson with Awakening Sober Connection.